For several decades, fans of originality, artistry, and storytelling have uplifted the works of Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. From Oscar award-winning works like Spirited Away and The Boy and the Heron, to beloved and highly praised films like Howl's Moving Castle and Princess Mononoke, the studio has impacted the lives of millions, both with compelling stories, characters, and worlds, and with provocative and moving themes. In many ways, Studio Ghibli serves as the thoughtful and creative illustration of sociological inquiry. Grief, war, trauma, industry versus nature, modernity versus the past, and of course planes, are present in ways that ask us to look at society not only to better understand ourselves, but to consider our place in the world and how we can strive for a better tomorrow. No other studio in recent years comes to mind as more masterfully forging together intriguing, fun, complex, and unifying messages with the skill, talent, and dedication of hand-drawn animation. But Mano Animation Studio is, as its founder puts it, blooming where it has been planted. Pakistan had no industry for hand-drawn animation before this. Mano Animation was created entirely from the ground up, a labor of love that resulted in 10 years of hard work and a phenomenal film called The Glassworker. Its founder, having a passion and love for hand-drawn animation from a young age, could easily have joined established studios elsewhere, but chose to navigate the entirely uncharted path so as to provide all the gifted and talented animators in his home country and area with the opportunity to come together and create. In a time when much of society seems to value the end result more than the process, what can be gained rather than what can be achieved, and the fastest route rather than the most rewarding, it's already immensely inspirational to see a team come together against all odds to pursue the path of creation. From storyboards to music, there was no detail in The Glassworker that hadn't been meticulously and lovingly crafted. It's unsurprising then that the film itself, much as Ghibli's films have, told a painful yet beautiful story. The Glassworker follows our titular character Vincent, an apprentice to his father and a gifted and hardworking young glassblower, as well as a young violinist named Elise. Told across two timelines, we follow the lives of these young people as they navigate the trials of growing up. From the friendship they form despite the differing beliefs of their families, to the efforts they pour into their crafts, we see what is and what could be for their lives. War, however, is an ever-present threat, and as the two timelines come together, so too do the realities of conflict. Speaking on just the visuals of the film, they're at times truly breathtaking. The vibrancy and designs in the glass, the architecture of the buildings, the clothing, the different environments, and the use of color are all a feast for the eyes. At times, the animation itself is not always perfectly seamless, though when you have well-established peers like Studio Ghibli or newer and incredibly respected studios like Fortiche, it's almost too easy as a reviewer to point this out. I still found the overall delivery of the visuals to be lovely though, and if anything, I'm impressed at what this new studio was able to do. I'm excited to see how they evolve, how they innovate, and what stylistic choices they make as they move forward. Tapping more specifically into the visuals though, I wanted to acknowledge the way they were utilized to tell the story. For one, in much the same way Spirited Away is culturally lush, The Glassworker was similarly effective. The clothing of the characters, the shape of the buildings, the feelings, and almost even the smells that you get from the busy bazaar are all details that make the environment come to life. It feels real and lived in and tangible. It's these sorts of things that ground viewers in the story, that make them connect with the characters and relate to simple experiences, such as Vincent accompanying his father to the market, or Elise excitedly discovering the glassmaker's shop and wiping her hands across the foggy windows to peek inside. Sometimes these seemingly mundane things are considered boring or too slice of life, when in reality they remind us not only of what it is to be human, but that the simplest joys are often made up of movement, contemplation, creation, and building relationships. To fully appreciate the brilliance of these slow yet intentional details, it's important to ask the purpose of including them. With a runtime of only about an hour and 40 minutes, some might argue for a more efficient use of time. Why show Vincent drawing out what he next intends to create with glass, or show Elise struggling with the idea of writing her own piece of music? Would it not be better in a film that isn't hiding its anti-war themes to depict the consequences of war and the devastation? One of the most common criticisms I see of slower or more slice-of-life films is that they're, quote, boring. Oftentimes, boring is used synonymously with slow, which are two very different things. Boring is when something utilizes slow moments without intention. Slow for slow's sake isn't brilliant. It's not even contemplative. It's just empty space waiting to have life breathed into it. Intentionally slow scenes are different. Much as Frieren Beyond Journey's End uses quiet journeying as opportunities to reflect and grieve, Or The Wind Rises shows a brilliant but flawed man burying himself in innovation at the detriment of others. So too does The Glassworker utilize unhurried moments. Taking the time to show much of what goes into glassmaking is, as an example, first off, extremely fascinating. It shows us the toils of an artist for their craft, the hours they dedicate to it, and in turn, it allows us to appreciate art and the making of it on a deeper level. We also, without being told, start to understand the kind of young man Vincent is growing into. It might seem slow, but it's actually the opposite. It's effective character study through portrayals of hard work and determination. One of the most emotionally evocative things is the will and perseverance of the human spirit. Watching a person work toward and achieve their dreams not only makes us proud and happy for them, but it makes us proud of mankind. It then begs the question, what more could we achieve if we supported one another, if we didn't get in each other's way, and if we lived in a world devoid of conflict? In showing these slower moments, it allows us to truly see the cost of war. It's personal to someone. It's personal to Vincent and his father. It's personal to Elise. It's personal to the people they encounter and to the friends they make. It's personal to their futures and what they may or may not become. As the threat of war looms, so too does the anxiety we feel towards these young children. We want Vincent to be an artist, to continue to create the gorgeous glasswork he loves so much to enrich his life and the lives of those around him. For Elise, we want her to find her voice through music, to have a chance to unite people through the pieces she performs. We don't want either of these children to experience loss as a result of war. Not the loss of their passion, their loved ones, or even their own lives. We don't want their talents corrupted by the violence of conflict, a violence that insidiously parades itself as just and brave. In much the same way our own world tries to disguise exploitation and dehumanization as necessary steps towards progress, The Glassworker also accurately depicts the struggles of humanity. While the anti-war themes are fairly overt, the theme of the value in humans creating and investing time and energy into artistic endeavors is not necessarily a separate concept, nor is it only serving the purpose of showing what one could lose if war were to occur. The idea isn't simply, look at all these pretty things that'll be destroyed if a bomb is dropped. Neither is it saying, look how much Vincent spent on that piece, or look how much practice was put into that performance, what a waste, as though art is only valuable for how much one struggled in the process of making it, or as though the process was meaningless if we aren't able to look at or see the art any longer. To be clear, of course the destruction of made things is terrible. As noted before, art is personal, but the creation of art is its own form of defiance and its own form of resistance. This is in part because of the human element in art. When we watch someone perform a piece of music, we're experiencing something. The vibrations of the bow against the string, the harshness and softness accomplished through the articulation, the highs and lows brought through crescendos and decrescendos. It makes us feel. It gives us, at times, a transcendental experience, and we have that same experience alongside other people when we're collectively able to tap into something more than us, then discuss what it was like and develop memories from it. It provides something for us very few other things can grant. The human element, again, though, is key. Music brings to mind the person who performed or composed it. Tangible things, like the glass creations, are reminders in their own way. Vincent's mother, once a skilled glass blower herself, has clearly left her mark on his father and in turn on Vincent himself. Through that human connection, and specifically in this case, this generational connection, Vincent is then able to craft wondrous things for other people. One of the beginning moments of his friendship with Elise is marked by a simple piece of glass, the very first one he created entirely on his own. Throughout the film, you see Elise look at this piece, reflecting on that memory of when Vincent made it, when he gave it to her, and the meaning not only in the beginning of things, but in the unknown possibilities of where their lives might go. One of the things that pushes Vincent to get better is his desire to create something he feels Elise will enjoy, something that represents her and even his growing feelings for her. This piece is seen several times in the present timeline of the film, showcasing again how art holds memories, how it tells stories, and how it keeps mysteries, emotions, and things left unspoken. Where the first piece marked a beginning, the present-day piece marks something else, building intrigue in the viewer and inviting you to wonder at what happened between then and now. The reason art is defiance is because so often, conflict is predicated on the belief that the loss that's sustained during violence and exploitation will be worth it because of what's to be gained. But art, human-created art, reminds us time and time again that we already have what we need. One of the most tragic figures in the film, but one of the biggest proponents of war, is Elise's father. It's clear that some of his most treasured moments with his daughter are when he watches her perform. He clearly seems to value the music his daughter creates, yet he's the antagonist to Vincent's father, who is a glassmaker himself, but also an open pacifist, who is branded a coward for his beliefs and is forced into a system that ultimately does not abide thinking that goes outside a determined view. It's here that we are introduced to the whimsical and magical parts of the movie. Throughout the course of the film, Vincent mentions a djinn who lives in the cave just below his home. The djinn, he explains to a fascinated Elise, is a being created through smokeless fire, much like the fire used to make his glass. This then prompts Elise to ask if the djinn is good or bad, to which Vincent replies that he doesn't know. The answer to whether this mystical djinn near Vincent's home is good or bad is not directly answered. It's up for the viewer to determine, though for me, my interpretation was that, much like art, it can be both, depending on the circumstances. Vincent's father is forced to reckon with his pacifist beliefs and struggles not to succumb to the crushing oppression of those in power. If he gives in, the hands that once created magnificent pieces might now be used to make machinery for warplanes. Similarly, Elise is given a violin by her father that was a spoil of war, something that, as the term reveals, was gained by taking from those they defeated. The defiance that's shown through creation then is depicted through Vincent's father, specifically through his hopes for his son. Faced with difficult decisions, he urges Vincent to keep creating, regardless of what he himself does. Where he may have to give in, his son can quietly resist. Interestingly, the idea of consuming art without thought is brought up in multiple instances. Not only do we see the Colonel appreciate his daughter's violin playing, yet not seem to internalize its value, we also see him buying one of Vincent's pieces, placing it upon his fireplace's mantle. Certainly, he seems to enjoy both Elise's music and Vincent's glass, but in a way not so dissimilar to how artificially made, quote, art is consumed, to be looked at or listened to, and maybe even to be enjoyed and admired, but never to be seen as bastions of the human spirit. It's a moving, tragic, and bittersweet movie, beautifully told and beautifully scored. While paying homage to its inspirations and tapping into similar yet still vital themes, The Glassworker stands out as a new voice, one that's exceptional for its slow vulnerability, its tenderness, and its challenging but hopeful message. While representing the very persistence of the studio's founding, it also manages to capture a very thought-provoking story, simple in its concept, but rich in its telling. If you're a fan of powerful and poignant films, hand-drawn animation, or simply a Ghibli fan, I can't recommend this film enough. We need more stories like this one, and we need more studios like Mano Animation.